What's up, people? Today we're going to be doing some more rear brake stuff, and it's going to start off by trying out these rear caliper sliders, see if they fit, and then we're going to be rebuilding the rear caliper on this side. Right, so here we got a little comparison of the old caliper slider bolts and boot and the new ones. So first big noticeable difference is the length. And then the other noticeable difference is the size of the head. So the original bolts were a 15, and these ones are much larger, maybe a 17, not sure yet, but they do fit. They go all the way to the bottom. Obviously the original ones were longer, so if they go to the bottom, then the new ones definitely will. So what I'm going to do is fit these. We've already done this side of the caliper, so once I finish these slider bolts, obviously I'm going to grease them up and then put the boots on as well. Once I've installed these, then we'll go off and do the rear caliper on the other side. So there we are, sliders in. Those were 17. There's some new 13mm head bolts there, which were thread locked. So they're all tightened up and in there. Time to put the wheel back on, then get to the other side. So you may remember from the other video that to get this handbrake cable free, you got to remove a little like circlip type thing that holds this handbrake cable in. Now on this particular side, it was a real pain in the ass, to the point where the cable clip end of it actually snapped off. But I have managed to finally get the thing out eventually, after a lot of swearing and a lot of plus gas and a little bit of hammering. I managed to get this stupid thing out. So I've still got half of the clip left to retain this, but I don't think it's actually mega important. So I'll go source a new one from somewhere. But yeah, now that's finally out, we can try and carry on with the rest of this. So this caliper's in pretty bad condition. I've hammered some of the rust off while I brushed it lightly. There's not really that much caliper left to rebuild on, but hey, you know, this is a 1999 plate car, so we're talking 18-year-old piece of metal here. But yeah, it's time to take this apart. You can see the dust boot for the piston is totally torn to shreds, and it's pretty corroded on the surface. The walls look like they're starting to go as well. So let's get this caliper apart. Last time I wanted to change this seal here for the handbrake, and I couldn't get circlip pliers to go down this gap here, but I managed to get a pair of these bad boys. Look at those. So what this will allow me to do is apply some opposing pressure to the spring cap, and then allow me to get this circlip out. So I'm going to need to fiddle around with this a little bit, but remember, safety first. So I've got my eyeglasses on just in case, because there's a bit of potential energy stored up here that could release. But let's have a go with this and see if we can do what we need to do. So let me just quickly take you through this. I I managed to remove the circlip from inside there after putting some pressure on that silver hat that you see there. And I was really worried about it exploding, so I had a cloth in there and stuff. And then I went to this end, and what we got is the handbrake arm that's held onto a splined shaft with this 13mm nut. It's got a 13mm nut there. We've got the arm with the splines in the center there, and then we've got the seal that we want to change, and then we've got this little threaded shaft here, splined shaft with threaded end, and if you push that through like that, basically the whole handbrake return spring assembly pops out as one unit. And you can see there's also a little O-ring here, which is going to need changing. I'm not totally sure quite how this works. I think after looking down in here, what there is there's a little dimple. You see there's a little indent right at the bottom there, and then that indent basically aligns with this little nipple that's sticking out of the bottom of this spring assembly. And I believe what that allows it to do is it allows it to apply torque against the spring. So the nipple locates it into the body of the caliper, and then as the shaft turns, it winds against the spring. So that's how you get the springing action. So on the forums it said about applying pressure to this cap before removing the O-ring, not O-ring, the circlip that sits on top of this that keeps it inside the caliper. I'm not actually sure how true that is, because this looks like a sealed unit that won't explode unless I pop those little silver tabs that are folded over that form part of the cage for this. So I'll probably get a feel for it when I put it back together, whether I need to put pressure on that hat, that silver housing again. I don't think I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this up, change out this O-ring, clean out the guts of this as well, change out this seal, and probably try and do something with this caliper because it's so rusty, and then start putting it back together. So quick update, got that new handbrake rod seal in there, no worries. I gave the whole caliper a quick spray of some Dynatrol rust inhibitor. Got the new piston seal in there, and I put this assembly back in. Didn't require any down pressure on this silver hat piece here. I just pushed it down, then put the O-ring on top, homed it into its slot, let it pop out, just double checked it with a screwdriver to make sure that it's actually seated all the way around properly. So that's all good to go. The only small issue that I had was this little O-ring in the kit is actually a little bit too big for the end of the rod, so I've actually reused the old one. The old one didn't look that bad, but this one's definitely too big for the recess which it's meant to sit in, so that's not going in there. So there we are, it's all back together again with the piston in, new dust boot, The handbrake arm is back on now, along with the spring, the return springs. There's two return springs, the internal one and the external one. So I think it's time to get this back on the car now. Before we put the caliper back on, we're gonna put the brand new sliders and boots on as well, I think, just to really treat those rear brakes. New slider bolts and boots are on. So while we got all this apart, I'm just gonna touch up some of the rust with this Dynatrol Converrust Epoxy RC900. So we're just gonna give this a quick spray up. Covered up things that I care about. I couldn't be bothered to take the caliper holder off, so I just basically got some bags, covered up the disc, covered up my rear airbag, and then we're just going to spray it up a little bit. There it is, all back together again. Now it's time to do a little bit of bleeding. And that's it. Rear caliper rebuild. How to turn your scabby rear caliper into something a little bit less scabby with some new seals. Anyways, that's about it from me. I've got to try and go and fight the urge of going to KFC drive-thru now, because it's Tuesday and they got a deal on, and it's 9 bits of chicken for $5.99. So that's all from me and the brake caliper.